Alright, so we back with another video. Today we got y'all boys with a new series for the NBA vids. Today we're going to be doing a monthly MVP tracker video. Today we're going to be doing our top 10 of the MVP rankings going into January. Really at the start of January. At the time of recording this, it's literally January 1st. So I don't know when this video is going to get out, but this is going to be my honest opinions. Now, when it comes to this list, it's not going to be ranked in order who are the best players in the league. It's going to be based off who's having the best season while also having the impact involved with it. I do think that does, and it does matter when it comes to most valuable player. Now, if it was the best player award, then it would just be who's having the best seasons, but that's just not what MVP means. So, I do think some of these awards get a little crazy with the narratives and the criteria being all over the place in every sport. You think about the Ballon d'Or with soccer, you think about the MVP in the NFL and the NBA, you kind of seeing it right now in the NFL. But with that being said, today that's what we're going to be doing. Y'all want more? Like the video, subscribe. And the best thing about this, we can be able to keep showing how it's kind of changing as time goes on. And I am not putting the 65 game requirement in this. You can kind of just do that for what it is. Without further ado though, let's hop into it. Alright, so hopping into it, like I said in the intro, I'm not doing a 65 game requirement gimmick. I do think that does matter, but with that being said, you can kind of just, if they don't play 65 games, just X them out based off that. But I'm going to do it based off who I think have had the best seasons overall. I do think availability does matter, but if your team is dropping off when you're not playing, I do think that also does factor into your MVP case as well. But let's get into it. We got honorable mentions. Now, honorable mentions, honestly, one of these guys, it was very tough to not have in my top 10 because the way I did my top 10, I got gaps. So it's kind of in tiers, but it's not. So you could really include some of these guys in the honorable mentions with that last tier of guys. But starting out the honorable mentions, I got Franz. I think the Franz, I've mentioned it multiple times, the Paolo-Franz convo. I think a lot of people are starting to come around to it, but Paolo's just not as good as Franz. He's not as impactful as Franz. Like, I don't even know what avenue you can go about it and say that Paolo is better at this point. And this year, Paolo's just not been as good as last year. I will give him that. But, so I don't really like some of the stuff that's going on with that. But with that being said, yeah, Franz, you can see the difference in the team when he's playing. Paolo's not playing. You can see the difference in the team when they're both playing. You can see the difference in the team when Paolo's not playing and when Franz is playing. Franz, in my opinion, is an honorable mention for this list. Next. Now, this is a person I don't really personally like his game. I don't really like the way he's used. Actually, I do like his game. I do think he is misutilized. I think that he is overused. And I think that the team thinks he's better than... They utilize him to be something he's not yet. He could become it, but he's not that yet, and that's Sengun. Now, Sengun, honestly, in my opinion, I think he's having a good year. He's very inconsistent, and like I said, he's not the player that this team kind of makes him try to be, especially with the addition of KD, which we will get into. But Sengun, I do think is actually having a very, very solid year, especially with the fact that, with the context that I do think he is being misutilized. I do want to give Sengun a lot of credit, and I have him at honorable mention. Now, last but not least on the honorable mention, the guy that was very tough to not have on this list, Jalen Johnson. Now, there's going to be some people on this list that don't have good records. So get that in mind, but Jalen Johnson is tough. Now, when it comes to Jalen Johnson, it's kind of similar to the Franz angle, where Franz has the issue of Paolo. Jalen Johnson has the issue of Trae Young, where the team is better without Trae Young, but you kind of started to see once, like, closer to when Trae Young was coming back, the team was getting worse even before that. So I can't even all the way go in on there. Where you say Franz, you can see it's a clear difference in terms of how good the team is with Paolo, without Paolo, with both of them playing together. When it comes to the Trae Young thing, there's times where Trae Young and they're both playing, they look very good. There's times when Trae Young isn't playing, they look fantastic. There's times when Trae Young isn't playing and they don't look that good at either, especially defensively, steal, which is kind of scary to me. But with that being said, Jalen Johnson has been one of the 10 best overall. If we talk about just seasons so far, I think Jalen Johnson has to be in that area. But he had to come in at the last honorable mention because I do think if you do start putting the team part into it, because he is still young at the end of the day, so you can't really expect too many of these guys. Even though it's going to be some young guys on this list, I do think he is deserving of some type of a mention. Then let's get into the top 10. Now, like I said, we got tiers. Coming in at number 10, I have Donovan Mitchell. Now, Donovan Mitchell, I have him on this list. I've mentioned this a couple times, and there's going to be some shots, I guess, thrown at people, but it's not really a shot. It's more so a critique. When it comes to Donovan Mitchell, bro, in the league, last year, think about it. Last year, I didn't think Donovan Mitchell had a great year, but now looking at it and how he's playing this year in comparison to last year, it's kind of like he took a step back and he didn't really have to play to the level he's playing this year. And then you kind of seen it in the playoffs. In the playoffs, his play rose, but it was to the detriment of the team. And you're kind of seeing that this year where he's shooting more shots, he's having to score more points, but it's to the detriment of the entirety of the team. And the things I was saying before last year was that this team plays better when Darius Garland is the main focal point playmaker, the main ball handler. This is not a Trae Young, Paolo situation where they're better without Donovan Mitchell. I think that they actually play well together. I do think this is a situation where they probably do need to split up the guard combination, but I don't think that this is a situation where they play better without one or the other. I think the team is at their best together with those two guys. You can clearly see that. But I do think Darius Garland as the main ball handler, as the distributor, is the better situation. Where now you have D. Mitch having to do everything and it's not really working. We're going to talk about that with some other guys that have regressed, but I have Donovan Mitchell at 10. Then coming in at number 9, I have KD. Now, KD, I'm going to be real. Honestly, to start the season, like I said, I think this is a situation of just being misutilized offensively. Now, Sengun, I think that they just kind of giving him too much of a load. And he has some situations and decisions that he just shouldn't make, but he's young. And they trying to make him play to a caliber or a certain level of player that he's just not yet. But I give credit to him because, in my opinion, I do think it is important to get those reps early instead of it having to wait and get those reps later. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, in my opinion, KD, I still think is the best player on this team. I do think that, like, when you think about all these older guys in the league, defensively, you see a lot of these guys getting worse. KD, for whatever reason, is getting better, if not just staying the same level defender. This year, he's been ridiculously good defender again. The past couple years with the Suns, he was very good defender. Like, I don't know what's really going on with KD defensively. And then scoring is KD. Now, he hasn't been scoring to the same level, but it's KD at the end of the day. We know what KD going to be able to do. Now, the thing that kind of does scare me in the playoffs is how they're going to play. But I'm going to be honest. If the Rockets try to develop a system where, like I'm saying, I do think I like the vision with Sengun, but if they really just get KD more looks more consistently, I think that if they can try to develop a system that's kind of similar to like how the Knicks play, where Bronson can get all these shots up, but they know they're going to get a lot of offensive rebounds, and the Rockets have a similar ideology in terms of they're going to get a lot of rebounds, but they don't really focus and get it towards their main scores more so than they should, in my opinion. But I do still think KD has been very good. I think Sengun's been very good, but I think the thing that kind of sets them apart is that they haven't been winning to the caliber that the Rockets really should. But if you watch the Rockets, this is one of the best teams in the league, regardless of the record. Then coming in at number 8, I have Jalen Brunson. I think the Knicks have been very good this year. I think they've had some rocky phases, but for the most part, they've been very good. I think, especially since they've had Josh Hart back in the starting lineup, they've been very good. They're a very, very clutch team. I do think Jalen Brunson can kind of be overrated in some times, in some combos. I won't lie, especially when it comes to like people having him in these scoring conversations with some other guards. Like I just said earlier, bro, the system around the Knicks is really Jalen Brunson can really get as many shots as he wants, and it don't really matter or hurt the team too much because they're gonna get a lot of offensive rebounds with the way that the team is built. So I do think that the team offensively is kind of catered to his play style, and it does work because of that. But I do think Jalen Brunson has been very good, regardless of how you want to feel about the shot selection or the shot, I guess, chuck, I don't know. But at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson, one of the most clutch players, which is very important to the way that the Knicks want to play. They want to be in these close games and then in the clutch, be able to finish the job. Defensively, you can talk about that however you want, but Jalen Brunson, I do think has had a very good year, and he has led this Knicks team. So I have him at number 8. Then the next coming in at number 7. This is going to be the last in this tier. I actually have Anthony Edwards. Now, some people may say Anthony Edwards should be higher. I personally don't think so. I think that Ant is still, you can kind of still see the inconsistencies. He still will have those big games. Like the game that you seen against the Thunder, especially the shot. That's like, when Ant has bad games, no one talks about it. When he has good games and hits big shots, it's very, very, like, talked about. He's like one of those players he's in that part of his career where he only gets credit, he doesn't get no flack. Now, I won't lie, we've seen this with other players like Luka, where early on in his career, I remember in the bubble where he was getting all this praise. And then once he started to have a little bit more consistent success, you start to see he started getting a little bit more of the hate. Now, I think Luka is a different thing because of, we're going to talk about that when we get there. But I do think Ant needs to get more consistency in his overall offensive game. I do think the way teams defend him in comparison to a lot of the teams players on this list is different. But I do I've said this in the offense video, I said this in the defense video. I think that this Timberwolves team is a very well constructed team. The coaching can be inconsistent. I think there's some players on this team that can be inconsistent, like all role players. And I think Ant is one of those players. But I do think Ant is very deserving on this list. Like I said, this is not a list of the best players in the league. This is a list of the best seasons so far and the impact that these players have had on their teams personally. So I think Ant coming in at number 7 is not a slight at all. And then going into the second tier. Bro, Kawhi just had 45. If the Clippers was having a better season, what he's done in this past week, now this is, like I said, this is not a 1 week thing. This is the entire season so far. Kawhi, what he's been doing the past week has been ridiculous. So he's not making this list. He's not even making an honorable mention. But what he's been doing is crazy. I just seen a little notification. But coming in at number 6 is actually pretty crazy. These next two are both kind of crazy to put this low. I have Giannis. Now, the only reason Giannis is not higher on this list is just because the team has just not been good. They had a very good start to the season, and since that start, he kind of started to miss some games. They went on a losing streak. He came back. They just haven't been as good. Giannis hasn't been as good as he was to start the season. Now, to start the season, you could have told me he was the MVP. He was looking crazy to start the season. It just has calmed down and slowed down. And then, honestly, that game last night against the Wizards was kind of crazy, especially how they lost. Like, he got the rebound. It was low-key a J.R. Smith moment where he got the rebound and tried to go back up and misses the layup. Instead of just holding the ball, because it was a new shot clock, and the shot clock was turned off, by the way, and they get gamed by the Wizards. So that was crazy. But like I said, this is not a moment thing. It's just the overall season and the impact that he's had. And I do think that a team like this, Giannis is going to be better on than if he's on a team with a star that needs the ball. It's just the way he plays offensively, I do think that. But there are good teams out there where he can be the focal point and it still works. He just needs to be on a team that's built for him. And I think that's the case with this next guy. The top 4, you don't really have to build. It's not as hard to build a team around these guys, but the flaws that these two guys have are so substantial that it's just tough. Like, Giannis, on the ball, one of the best players in the league. Off the ball, it's very tough. Like, he's not a good pick and roll player. The reason why him and Dane worked that well together because he wasn't that good of a pick and roll. Now, he got better at pick and roll, but he never became an actual solid pick and roll guy, which is kind of crazy, to be honest. If anything, Giannis is more of the pick and roll ball handler than the roll man because he's just really not good at setting screens. And it's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But Giannis, what he was doing this year early was ridiculous. But because the Bucks has just not been good, I can't have him too high. It's kind of like Jalen Johnson. The Hawks have not been good. I can't have him too high, even though I really like him a lot. But Giannis is in the best in the world combo. But his team has just not been good. And it's just tough to really put him too high when that's going on, personally. And then next. Now, I don't really care what the Lakers record is, man. It's really tough to really put Luka too high. Now, we have to talk about it. Luka is one of my favorite players in the league. We have to talk about it. Now, Luka still comes in at 5. He does come top 5. The difference between him and Giannis is not that big, and this is still the same gap. We got 2 more people in this tier, by the way. Luka, offensively, I don't blame him too much for. A lot of people make the excuses for like the usage thing. I don't think that's a Luka thing. You could say it is, but I think that's a coaching problem. But I think that's just the way JJ Redick wants to play. You can look at it when Luka doesn't play. It's still gonna be whoever the main guy is gonna have a very, very high usage rate. Like, that's just the way that this team wants to play with JJ Redick. I don't think that that's a very winning formula, especially with the way the league is moving, personally. But yeah, that's not the issue. The issue's on the other side of the ball. Now, the thing with Luka is, to start this year, he was actually getting back to his older ways before 2023 when he started gaining all that weight defensively. He was actually putting in effort. He was actually a solid to almost good defender early in the year. And then he got injured with the back, and ever since he came back from that, the defense has gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's almost like as they started to lose more, the defense has gotten worse and worse and worse. And I can't really blame the coach for his defense. I don't really know if I can blame the coach for the defense, the team defense overall either, honestly, because this team just don't really have defenders. But when it comes to Luka in comparison to other guys, and the biggest issue with the team is the defense, it's not the offense, all I'm going to say is that is a clear way that he could impact the game more. And the effort level that Luka plays with is pitiful. And I'm a big Luka guy, and I'm a person that defended him in the finals run. That made sense for him to play like that because he had so many good defenders around him. He had actual rim protectors around him. He had actual POA defenders around him. Real defenders around him. This Lakers team don't have none of that. This team is built awfully for him. So now, when you're on a team like that, you have to play defense. You have to put more effort defensively. I don't care what you're doing offensively. If you want to win games, you have to do that. And he doesn't. So, I do think, honestly, with Luka's shot selection and shot diet, it's cool that you that talented and you can make these shots. But when it's starting to hurt the team, when you missing those shots and you're starting to get turnovers, and the NBA is kind of getting advanced in terms of having better shot distribution, getting so analytical with the percentages of what shots you should take. It's when players play this way, it starts to impact your team more and more and more. And I'm not even one of these people that think that Luka's not a top 3 offensive player in the league still. I do still think that. I think that his skill set and talent is just ridiculous still. But I do think the offensive thing is more of a coaching issue. I've always said that. I think that's always been the case. Like, whether you like it or not, or think that Luka has to play like this, I think that Luka wants to play like this. That don't have anything to do with if the coaching can coach that away from him. I think that there still can be a coach that can coach that away from him. Defensively, though, that's all on Luka, in my opinion. So I can't put him any higher than 5 on my list. Then coming in at number 4, we have Victor Wembanyama. Now, I seen people doing the little real app, you know what I'm saying? And this is kind of going into the box score, ruin sports, man. Hey, man, if you're not watching them Wemby games, you're not going to see it. And I'm not even saying the Spurs are bad without Wemby. With Wemby, this is a championship contender team. A genuine championship contending team. That team, offensively, everything opens up so much because of how big of a threat Wemby is around the rim. People don't want him to get to the rim, so now you get a lot more one-on-ones, way less help. People going to be double-teaming, showing a lot of help towards Wemby. He's going to get a lot of other guys around him better looks, and then defensively, we don't even need to discuss. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of people running with this Jokic 65 games. The reason why the 65 games needs to go is not having to do with the MVP conversation. Do not let people delude you on that. I think that's going to be the reason why it does get changed. The reason why it has to get changed is because the gap defensively from any player to Wemby is arguably the biggest gap we've ever had from the best anything to the second best in any well, maybe Curry with shooting. Curry with shooting is the only comparative thing you could even compare this to. Wemby is so much better defensively. Wemby, from the second half of his rookie season to now, has been the best defensive player on earth. And he's only gotten better since then. Wemby's impact on both sides of the ball is ridiculous. And the way that he can impact even the best teams when he's playing them, you got to give Wemby his credit. I think that he has to be number 4 on this list. The Spurs haven't playing winning basketball. Wemby is playing winning basketball. And yeah, I got him at number 4 on the list. Then coming in at number 3, it's actually crazy that my comp for him was Luka. I got Cade. Cade comes in at number 3. I think with what he's doing in the East, playing on both ends. In the Pistons, the thing is with the Pistons is this is a defensive team. And it kind of reminds me of Luka offensively. It kind of reminds me of Luka, what he was having to do with the Mavericks. But the thing with Cade, he actually plays defense. And it's not like he's a maybe solid to good, where Luka used to be a solid to good defender, where since 2023, he's been an awful defender. Cade is a legitimately good defender. At times, higher than that. Like, if we ranking him in terms of the guards on this list defensively, out of all the guards I've said so far, he's the best. Now, if you want to include the honorable mention, Franz is in the convo at that point, then he's not better than Franz. But he's the best out of everybody I've said so far. Now, there's another one that you could really debate. That's when it comes down to on ball versus off ball. That is when it does get debatable. But Cade is ridiculous. As a playmaker, he's not turning the ball over as much. He's, in terms of how this team plays, and it kind of does go into, this is another thing that will go into Luka. The Luka shot selection thing, like I said, offensively, I don't think is as bad of a problem as people make it out to be. If the team is better built around him, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. Luka on the Pistons, would he be better than Cade? Probably. But the thing is, Cade is a good defender. So I don't know all the way. I genuinely don't know. Offensively, for sure. But the overall team, I genuinely don't know. I don't. The Pistons have no bad defenders that you can go out there and just try to take advantage of when Duncan Robinson off the court. Now, when he's on the court, you can take advantage of Duncan. But if you have Luka on the court, and that is your start, when your best player is a defensive liability, that is something that you can take advantage of every single time, especially when it's a guard. That's why when people try to compare it to another guy that we're going to talk about later, it don't really work. But we're going to keep it moving. I got Cade at 3. That is the last for this tier. I think that Cade all the way down to Giannis is all the same tier, where Luka and Giannis are better players than Cade, but Cade and Wemby have just had better impacts, more impact on their team so far this year, and their team is winning games at the end of the day. And that does factor into the MVP at the end of the day. And then the final tier. Now, the final tier is really tough because we got 2 guys. Now, I do think there is getting a separation, but it's going to come down to if the bro can play enough games at this point with the injury he just sustained. But coming in at number 2, I have Shai. Now, when Shai and the Thunder was on that run to get the... When Shai was on that run to get the record, it was no question. It was no question. Now, I still think Shai is a very deserving winner if he does win it, regardless who I have at 1. Regardless if he plays 65 games at 1. Because I think that people was kind of overrating this Thunder team a little bit. Like, I think that this Thunder team in this century, you could debate one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team of the century. I wouldn't even be mad at that. But to say it's the best team overall of the century, no. Now, if you want to say it's better than 2016, I may even agree with you on that. But the issue is, offensively, what Shai does for this team, offensively, I don't think people understand, bro. This brother is a automatic, efficient guard scorer. Like, Cade is not the most efficient player. It's really hard to find a efficient, extreme. Like, you got the volume efficient guys, and then you just got efficient guys. Shai is efficient regardless of the volume. There's guys that's efficient for the volume, but Shai is just genuinely an all-time efficient player this season. Like, I seen a stat that he has the most 30-point games in less than 30 minutes all time ever for a season. And we're just now getting to this main majority part of the season. He already broke the record. I don't think people realize what Shai's doing this year offensively, scoring-wise for this Thunder team. Outside of Shai, they don't really, especially with J-Dub coming back. And the thing that's really weird about the Thunder, J-Dub came back and the team got worse. Now, I think a reason for it is J-Dub is kind of coming back off an injury. He's getting the same shots that he was before. And he probably shouldn't be rushed back the way he has been. He's kind of not getting eased back into the team. He's just getting placed back into the team. And that's kind of throwing off the dynamic of the team, kind of. But this is a defensive team around Shai. The outside of Shai offensively, and that's kind of the thing that's going to kind of bite them in the playoffs. Because if Shai has an off night, you can beat this team. You can beat this team if you play defense and rebound like the Nuggets, like the Rockets, like the Pistons. So I'm gonna be honest, the Thunder are very, if you talk about a series, I throw the Spurs in there too if Wemby's healthy, but that's a big if right now. Shai, if Shai is off, this is a beatable team. But the thing is the if Shai is off is a big if. That is the biggest if in the league right now. Like, Shai being off is not very likely, bro. I don't think people realize what they seeing with Shai right now, man. It's genuinely ridiculous efficiency for a guard. And it's not like it's Curry and he's shooting threes on a crazy volume and hitting them at a crazy rate. That wasn't even a volume efficiency. That was a stupidity efficient season. Shai is doing similar things as that without the threes. Like, I don't think people realize Shai is really on a different level this year. And defensively, he's still very, very good on the other side. This is the guard I was mentioning when I was saying Cade. I think Cade is a better on ball. Shai is a better off ball. It really does come down to what you value more. And I think that both are still good at the other side, at the other parts of it. I think that Cade is probably a better off ball than Shai is a better on ball. But Shai is one of the best off ball guards of all time. So it's just tough. That is tough. I don't think K's one of the best on-ball guards of all time. But it is tough when it comes to Shai because his team is ridiculous. He's having a ridiculous season. It's just the guy above him. It's genuinely unbelievable. And then coming in at number 1, I'm a Heat fan, bro. I watched the game he got injured. The game he got injured in the very quarter, he came out the game. We went up 20 points. That same quarter, he comes back in the game and just completely just takes control of the game. And the thing is with Jokic, that is so weird. It's like, bro, Luka, it shows you the dynamic of what a bad shot diet can do if you really are still that talented of a player. Where Luka can control games, but he controls it from a talent perspective. Jokic controls games from a talent perspective, but he also is so smart. Luka is just sometimes he's not the smartest guy. I'm not gonna lie. You'll see him do a crazy pass. You'll be like, how in the world did he do that? But Jokic is just very, very, very smart. I'm not gonna lie. And defensively, it's kind of the thing with Jokic is I don't think Jokic is a great defender. It's just a lot easier to hide Jokic, but also Jokic will play defense. He will put much more effort into defense than Luka, which is just, I don't know. It's just weird because the thing about it is when you're big, you want them to be a rim protector. Jokic is not going to get a lot of block shots, but he's going to get a lot of pokes and he's going to affect people around the rim. Now, there are some times where he don't even try to affect that stuff, which is an effort thing. But when he is, it's more likely for Jokic to put in effort than Luka right now, which is kind of sad, to be honest. So, and then Jokic on the other end, we're seeing what we're seeing from Jokic offensively. I genuinely don't think we've ever seen anything be touched to this level offensively. Like, it's crazy. Like, what he's getting out of guys offensively is ridiculous. Now, I won't lie. I see some people trying to run with the thing that he assistant player because Valanciunas started out a game with 2 assists. I'm gonna keep it a bean, bro. Hey, bro. If y'all think Jokic is assistant player, bro, the gimmick. Quit the gimmicks, bro. The gimmicks is crazy. Now, I will say, Jamal Murray has been very good. If that can be the separator between the two, where Shai, offensively outside of him this year, it's not really been much. I think that the role players have shot really well from 3. I think AJ Mitchell, I like him. I think that the guys that have a little bit more to their game should get more PT. I do think the moment that Lou Dort minutes get dropped and you start giving Alex Caruso kind of that solidified POA defender role where he's getting to 30 minutes a night for sure. And then you have guys like AJ Mitchell, Aaron Wiggins, J-Dub being like more so like your primary role players, and then like Case and Wallace and Alex Caruso being like your main defensive guys that get 30 plus minutes a night. I think that's when they kind of they get a little bit more consistency as an offense. But they're I don't think y'all realize they don't really need the best half-court offense in the regular season because they're so good defensively. That's why it's like it's only gonna matter against certain teams in the regular season. That stuff is gonna matter in the playoffs. So Shai's probably gonna win it because Jokic right now, he's supposed to be out for a month. So the game requirement, like I said, I'm not putting game requirement into it. So like guys like Wemby, guys like Jokic, I think even Giannis may not even come into the play. So that stuff is weird. Maybe even Luka too. So I'm gonna be honest, if Jokic doesn't meet the requirement, why the hell? I could maybe see somebody being petty and just not letting Shai get a unanimous MVP just because they don't want somebody to be having a unanimous MVP like Curry. But if that's literally going on, if Jokic is not in the right, bro, Cade should not be taking a vote off of Shai at all right now. It's a 2-man race for sure. Not even close to a 3-man at all right now. So it's gonna take a lot of and even with the Pistons going the other way lately, I don't really see it right now in terms of a 3-man race. And I know Knicks fans may be saying Jalen Brunson, nah, he's not on these levels at all. So I think that right now, MVP race is very tough between those two. If it comes down to games deciding it, I think it's gonna make the votes a lot easier. But I do think that game shit gotta go. But I do think the availability should matter into it. It just shouldn't. I mean, I'm not mad at it disqualifying. I would say if you missed over 50% of the season, okay, that's OD. That's OD, in my opinion. Like if you ain't playing 41 games, okay, then yeah, bro, yeah. But 65, you know what I'm saying? Now I did also see that there's never been an MVP that won it, that played under 65. And I'm like, that's cool and all if they got the MVP right every single time. And like I said, bro, at the end of the day, these MVP awards, these awards in general, they don't really get these right majority of the time. Ballon d'Or, MVP in the NFL and NBA. A lot of these times, a lot of people just not gotten right. It's not. It's like, and I was thinking about this the other day. Like, how would they even do it? You can't do a fan vote. Bro, fan vote is awful in the All-Star game. I don't. Like, it's cool and all for the All-Star game and the Pro Bowl, but, like, it's awful. It's awful. When it comes to the media voting for stuff, that's who's voting for the MVP already. There's no consistency there, and if anything, it's just all narrative-based. And then I think the coaches are really analytic junkies. And I'm going to be honest, I really dislike them analytic junkies, but at least the analytic junkies have a criteria, a set, consistent criteria. You can't even argue with that. Now, I will say, that was nasty when they started changing stuff for, like, the blocks plus minus for Russell Westbrook when he was breaking it or some shit. But then they got defensive blocks plus minus, which takes in assists for big man. That don't make no sense. But you know who I'm talking to. But for the most part, I think that the analytics people, they at least have a consistency criteria. Now, if you just gave us a consistent criteria, okay. Now, 65 games, I give you that. That is a consistent, automatic disqualification. We had more things like that, okay. But how would you even do that? So I think analytics, let the analytic junkies do it. I think they would get it right more consistently what we doing recently. So that's my opinion. That's my top 10. We're going to try to keep doing this every single month. Y'all do want more, like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff out the way. Without further ado, man, it's your boy Fitz. We finna get into that NFL season where we got to get these joints out for y'all boys. So make sure y'all stay tuned. Like the video. I'm out of here.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!